Hi everyone, welcome to Fuel the Fire series with me, Naz. So as you know, I am one of Me Club's brand ambassadors, but outside of that, I am actually a co-founder and head of nutrition at Elevate, a personal trainer, a coach, and part of Unreal's education team. So I thought I'd kick off the series by basically showing you what I do outside of my career in fitness. I guess you could say I love all things hybrid. So the word is obviously often misused, and I think the word is currently super trendy right now. So I don't really like to actually use this word hybrid, but I must say through my training and just reflecting what I do in my sessions, I do define my approach to health and fitness very hybrid. Over the years, I have dabbled in a lot of things. I've dabbled in Olympic weightlifting, I have dabbled in CrossFit, in bodybuilding, and recently, basically over the past year, I've got into long endurance training. To be specific, I've competed in the T100 duathlon. I've also done 2 half marathons. The rest, well, I guess more to come, but I haven't actually booked any other races. But after my past year of falling in love in endurance sports, I don't think I'm gonna quit or leave this whole endurance game anytime soon. So over the past few years, I've basically tried quite a lot of things. And if you actually see all these things from CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding, endurance work, it's all very, very different approaches in fitness. For my half marathon training that I did, towards my Gold Coast half marathon, one of my main goals was to still be able to train like an Olympic weightlifter, but also at the same time do long miles and long distances through my half marathon training. And I must say that contrast of being as powerful as possible and trying to keep your strength in your Olympic weightlift, so in your snatch and your clean and jerk, also your back squats and your pulls, is definitely very, very difficult, especially if you are trying to clock in 40 to 50 kilometer weeks. I can definitely say from the bottom of my heart, it is not for the faint heart. I have had many, many times where, a lot of lifts felt like and a lot of runs felt like absolute as well. But I love the challenge, and I think that was one of the things that I made sure and dialed in terms of like the purpose of me coming into training. And I wanted to make sure that I actually enjoyed the approach rather than trying to follow trends, because as you know, Instagram, people get caught up in this word hybrid and thinking just doing random movements or like functionally varied movements in one workout is considered hybrid. But to me, the definition of hybrid is to be able to do 2 completely contrasting sports that completely trains different things. For instance, Olympic weightlifting, it's all about power, brute force, and absolute strength. And then endurance, it's honestly long, slow, and to be able to endure for hours and hours. So completely different, but trying to excel both at the same time. So why do I actually love training this way? So despite the difficulty and the challenges, I love it because, well, one of the things is I do love a challenge, hence why I try different sports and different phases of my life. I love chasing for that kind of, I don't know, like it always feels great when you see something that you thought you'd never be able to do and challenging yourself to change that mindset and change the belief. So a good example is obviously this long endurance training and this training towards the half marathon over the past 2 training blocks and the past 1.5 to 2 years now of falling in love with running. 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was in CrossFit, I had a strong belief that I was not born a runner. I was not born to be able to run long distances. I was so sure that I was just a power athlete and I was never able to do half marathons or even marathons, And I mean, you could ask any of my friends or any of my peers back then, especially when I was coaching CrossFit, they knew me as the girl that was always anti running workouts. Even if it was only like 5 rounds of 400-meter run, I was not loving it at all. And I love the feeling of challenging myself to change that mindset and change that belief. I think that is a big thing for me over the years of fitness and just in general life, whether it's my career, whether it's personal life. Growth is a big thing. I think my husband Stuart and I, like, we talk about this a lot, and how we don't want to stay in the same place as we were, let's say, a year ago. So if you were to think of 2 years from now and 3 years from now, and if you are basically the same person as you were 3 years ago, then you're definitely doing something wrong. Whether that is career, whether that is fitness even. We try our best, and I think that's why, I love my husband so much, and we love each other because we do have the same values when it comes to anything fitness related, anything career related. I'm also going on into a rabbit hole here, but back to the question why I like training this way is, number one, having the challenge and having the constant daily difficult tasks to achieve and to actually like crush, and feeling like, oh yeah, I could actually do it, like no doubt of that. And then number two, I love variety as well. I love knowing that, I was given this body and we live in this earth for such a time, and being able to be gifted multiple things, to be able to run, to be able to lift, to be able to do so many things in fitness and life. I don't want to waste that. And I think that's a big part for me. I like to train functionally. I like to train to feel strong, to be strong, to lift heavy. But I also love being fit, and I love the challenges or doing really hard workouts and completing the hard workouts, because it just fuels the fire in me, fuels the drive in me. Also, being able to do different things, let's say from weightlifting to running long distances. This approach has, has made me feel athletic throughout the years, even though I'm not a competitive athlete or I am like a professional athlete or any sense, but it's definitely made me feel that way. And I hope that, through this approach, through this hybrid training approach, obviously I think I don't see myself going, crazy competitive in, let's say, Olympic weightlifting or crazy competitive in the running stint. But I'm hoping like years from now, when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, etc., I'm still able to do most of these things. To me, being able to do functional training, strength training, and making sure what I do in the gym can translate to how I feel in everyday life. So in the future, when I become a mother, or when I hike, when I travel, all these things, I feel physically fit and always ready to attack the day. So with my approach in training, of course, the demands are high. So what that means is, with having a training approach where I love to ollie lift, I love to still do, let's say, CrossFit workouts here and there, at the same time do long distances when I run, the demand of eating enough is crucial. The way I train demands a lot of carbohydrates and just a lot of calories in general, because obviously when we do a lot of activity, our energy output increases, our calories has to increase. So that is a big thing for me over the years. I think through my different times in CrossFit, in weightlifting, and even in bodybuilding, food has always been part of it, and hence why I grew love in nutrition education and nutrition coaching, and helping people to ensure they are fueling enough and ensure they are performing the way they need to perform and recover the way they need to in order to optimize their performances. Because over the years, through all the sports that I've dabbled into, I think I've gone through the bad side of not fueling enough, or the bad side of under fueling and being fearful of food and fearful of carbohydrates, fearful of gaining weight. The mental side of things when it comes to nutrition and disordered eating is obviously not fun, but I must say I have experienced it myself, and it did take a while to rewire my thought processes when it comes to fueling. And I think over the past 2 years, when I got into high rocks, when I got into long endurance runs, and when I got into ollie lifting again, I've managed to heal that relationship with food, because I knew that in order to excel in hybrid training, I had to eat. I had to fuel and I had to consume so many calories so that I feel good throughout the week. Not just during the day, but throughout the week and the following weeks and the following months. I've managed to basically see the differences in it. And I think one of the biggest one was regular cycles. I mean, as females, we have to have regular period cycles. That is the most important part, which I am happy to say that it's been regular over the past year now. Another one is managing my recovery. I have found that fueling enough and making sure I'm consuming as much calories as possible for my training demands have allowed me to be injury free. I definitely had, honestly, not many niggles or anything through my half training marathon blocks. That has been honestly awesome, especially considering I was lifting quite some heavy weight during the time that I was building up for this half marathon. Also, after the half marathon, it was turf games as well, like being able to still go straight into a training block towards, functional fitness competitions. I was able to still manage the volume. As some of you guys know who does CrossFit and who does any functional fitness training, the volume and metcons are pretty high. And especially if you haven't done any volume in, let's say, the gymnastic work or the just the generic like functional movements like dumbbell snatches, wall balls, let's say toes to bar, burpees, there's quite some, it's quite a lot of repetitions that you need to do in those type of workouts. So fueling is definitely not optional. It is a mandatory thing for me. That's why I pride in what I do when it comes to Elevate Nutrition. I love helping people. I love helping Elevate members to make sure they are fueling enough whenever they have a high rocks race coming up, whenever they have a running race or even a functional fitness comp. So I think to kind of wrap it up from what I've just said regarding hybrid training, so over the next Fuel the Fire series, I'll take you guys along with me to the journey of doing all the roles that I have in my life, from Elevate to Unreal, but also how I balance it all with my personal life, how I balance it all with trying to eat enough throughout the day, how I balance it all from recovering between training sessions, and just basically show up 100% in all areas of my life and to never compromise any of it. And I'm excited to show it to you guys. So just to kind of conclude this first episode, hybrid training to me is about having it all, having the strength, the endurance, but most importantly, the energy and the balance to show up 100% in all areas of your life. To be honest, it all starts with fueling, because if you're not eating enough, you won't be able to show up to all that and to be able to perform in your gym sessions, to be able to coach, to be able to function with my brain. So that's me. Fuel the Fire with me, Naz, episode 1. And I'll see you guys next time on episode 2, where I take you along on a full day with me, coaching, training, and everything in between.